All right, you're back with the Italian Sportscast.
Benvenuti, Craigie boy.
Benvenuti, Kyle. Second segment here. We come back and talk a little bit of Saints. Of course, we're in the offseason now. The big question mark for the Saints, of course, offseason is Drew Brees coming back. We got three quarterbacks. All the dominoes will fall once we.
So you got three, ain't got one.
You got three. Well, no more when Drew makes his decision. Of course, we'd like him to come back. But of course, this has been Super Bowl week, Radio Row. Drew Brees and Sean Payton been kind of making the rounds, making some comments. So Sean Payton's answered a few questions about that maybe give us some insights. What are your thoughts on what you've heard so far?
You know, it's based on a knee-jerk reaction from Sean when they had him on the desk when they were here for the College Football National Championship. Yeah. Hashtag LSU over Clemson. Some of the even the NFL pregame set on Sunday had Samantha Ponder and Rob Ryan and Rex Ryan and whatnot, and they were asking what he thought, and he said, "Look, Drew's going to be back." I mean, I don't know if he meant to say it like that, but in his mind, I think he's pretty convinced Drew's going to come back. And Drew said, the right thing. I'm playing in New Orleans, or I'm not playing at all. Yeah, you got to let your body heal. You can't make those emotional reactions at that point. The way you feel 3 days after that game is not the way you feel 3 weeks after that game, and he's smart enough to know that. And he does, and he's doing it the right way, taking his time to figure it out. You got to get away for a little bit, maybe to miss it. And I think that's what he's doing. So as I see it, Drew Brees comes back for at least one more year, Craig. Yeah. Well, some of the comments we've heard. Number one, Sean Payton has to admit, which we all thought, is that it's unlikely they could bring back all three. So I think you look not happen.
Right. So if Drew does decide to come back, and we think he will, then it's likely they're going to let Teddy Bridgewater walk, get to the right situation, get his paid contract, and they're going to work Taysom into the mix a little bit more next season, I think. You get him ready, groom him to be the quarterback in waiting, so to speak. Couple of things regarding that. First of all, Taysom Hill made it clear. Anybody that's looking at him in free agency, he wants to be known as a quarterback. He doesn't want to be seen as a utility guy. He wants to play quarterback in this league. And again,
that's for the biggest contracts.
Right.
So yeah,
I think Sean Payton knows that. Again, transition year. Now, again, Drew has also mentioned in these interviews that he would be open to allowing Taysom to get a more active role in the offense, take a little bit more, a little expansion of his role, so to speak. To me, that also hints at his return. Now, I heard Booger McFarland say just the opposite. He said, he's saying he allowed Taysom to get more of a role in the offense, tells me he's probably looking to retirement. I think it's just the opposite. I think he's saying he would accommodate Taysom in that role.
They're very, very close friends, and the three of them all are in that quarterback room. Yeah. And you don't hear a lot of talk about Teddy Bridgewater right now. Yeah. And I think what that's saying is that Drew may have told him or may have hinted to him, look,
go get your money.
Go get your money. Chances are I'm coming back. And for Taysom Hill, I think the Saints operate one of two ways next year. The way I see the whole thing playing out, Craig, Drew Brees comes back for at least another year. Teddy Bridgewater breaks the bank as one of the top free agent quarterbacks out there, obviously behind Tom Brady and maybe one or two others. And Taysom Hill, while becoming more part of that offense, is also going to be the quarterback of the future as they see. They're going to give him that shot. Right. They'll bring in a veteran guy to back up Drew. Yeah. In the same role that Teddy played. Now, here's a guy who can, if he's that type of guy, can help mentor. Not that you're going to have a better teacher, I think, or somebody to learn from on how to prepare and what to do than Drew Brees. Yeah. And he and Taysom Hill are very tight. Yeah. He's mentioned that before, one of his best friends on the team. So I think that the way I see it today, Drew Brees back for another year, Teddy Bridgewater goes out and gets paid, Taysom Hill, again, as much as active role as he's had, let him throw it some. A little bit of learning on the job thing, and Sean Payton get to see what he sees and sees where he goes from there. So
let me give you a couple other comments that Sean Payton made when I was listening to the different interviews he did prior to the Super Bowl. A couple of things that really struck me. Number one, he mentioned with regard to the Super Bowl matchup, he said, these two teams are the two fastest teams in the league, and they're playing in the Super Bowl. So that tells you he's starting to get an idea of what team speed really means. I thought maybe they'd go for offensive guard or something in the draft, but I'm starting to think maybe they'll go after one of these wide receivers. Even though it is a deep wide receiver draft, we don't pick again until the third round. So, you look at Shanahan, what he's done that's really kind of revolutionary right now. He's learning to spread the field to the width of the field, right? Most teams think of spreading a defense in terms of levels vertically, right? You try to get the safeties back and you run on them if the safeties are back. Shanahan, when you watch against the Saints, he had these defensive linemen looking all different ways because of all the misdirection, and he has the speed. These guys are fast that can run the perimeter of the field. So they make you guard every gap, and they don't allow you to get multiple guys to the ball. So I think the wheels are starting to turn with Sean Payton. a guy like Taysom Hill, what I could do with the right amount of speed with this team with a guy like him, given the looks of these new offenses in the NFL.
It's a great point right there. And you look at what, go back to the team you mentioned, the Niners, and what they did with Deebo Samuel, a rookie, against the Saints.
Right.
A guy who was tough to bring down after the catch. I don't mean hard to get your hands on. I mean tough to tackle.
Right.
Okay? And I think that they're starting to see some of that. It is a game of speed. It is a game where I think the Saints need somebody else on the other side of Mike Thomas to really stretch things out. Alvin Kamara has always been that guy that you can move around and play pieces parts with. I think, though, this is me, that Sean Payton realizes that our best years in his system with Drew at quarterback has been when we've been really committed to the run.
Yeah.
And you mentioned a few weeks ago when Mark Ingram was no longer on that team, you had the learning curve for Latavius Murray, who I think was very, very good and drastically underused at the end of the season.
Yeah.
But it took away some of the mojo, some of the toughness of this offense.
Yeah.
Bigger picture, I don't think Andrews Pete's going to be here. I think you're going to have a Mauler.
Yeah.
Okay? But I also think what you're saying is very important, is that they will get enough guys where they can spread that defense out. Again, not depth, like you said, from sideline to sideline, and get the mismatches that way. That's what I think. So, also think they might step back and get some extra picks and draft 2 receivers.
Yeah, it could be. Again, if you got one, maybe that has, again...
You don't like the guy at 24? Move back.
Right, yeah, you get kind of a big guy who can help you in that run game, do some reverses and some tricky things when you got a guy like Taysom Hill in there, so you got a lot of options you can throw at a defense. I looked at... And again, I talked about, it's difficult when you got the team spread that wide to get multiple guys because everybody's trying to guard one gap, and there's so many different things you got to look at. I watched that Green Bay game. It seemed like every time a guy got to the edge on a reverse, there was one cornerback or safety trying to tackle him and nobody else. Just
right.
He had that one-on-one matchup, and if he didn't make the tackle 7 yards downfield, it was a big play. Same thing when they run those quick traps and draws up the middle. It just seemed like everybody had their eyes looking for the reverses and out wide, and there was nobody once they got to the second level. So, again, really revolutionary. I think he's a great coach and has some great concepts running the football. But I think Sean Payton, another thing he said was this. He said, somebody asked him, can you really watch this like a fan, or are you watching this like a coach and analyzing all the time? And he said, well, I can kick back and enjoy it, but I'm still looking for things I see, and I'll jot stuff down or I'll call a coach, So, again, he's telling you, some things I'm seeing on these teams, I'm making note of them, and I'm going to use some things I've seen.
Copycat league.
That's right, no doubt.
Been like that. Look, I think more people have gotten stuff from what we've done than any team in the league in the last 10, 12 years.
Yeah,
so,
all the multiple personnel groupings and things.
All the innovative things Sean Payton and Pete Carmichael have done with Drew at the helm. Yeah. Lots of other teams are doing now.
Yeah, we'll know shortly again once we get Drew's word back, and things will start to fall from there.
We will, and quit calling me Shirley.
All right, changing sports now. Moving over to the Pelicans. Finally, we were pretty down on the Pelicans early in the season, but finally, Zion Williamson makes his debut. Spectacular debut, although not in the way we saw it coming.
Right.
He was very tentative the first 3 quarters of the game, but came on late in the game again. But 4 for 4 from 3-point range. Had a spurt of 17 points in about 3 minutes
and 21 seconds.
Incredible. So the fans got their excitement. Now it's been a process working into the offense, but you can see he's getting more and more comfortable with the guys on his court.
They're a very difficult team to match up with when he's on the floor. Yeah. And they're still, they're in the infancy and baby stages of learning how to play together with him on the floor. The marquee scorer for this team all season long pretty much has been Brandon Ingram. Yeah. Other guys can score. You watch this team right now, and they can roll 8 and 9 players out there, 10 players. Okay, they're playing right now, beating the snot out of the Chicago Bulls, and the Bulls aren't any good. But the Pels at one point had them outscored by the benches 52 to 28 or 53 to 28. It was just amazing how much of a contribution these players down the line are making. Yeah. I'm laughing because the Pels were up by 25 points when we started this segment. They are up by 4 points right now.
Yeah, 4.7
so
seconds.
Let me stop praising them and once again focus on the collapse and the crap that we've put out there in the fourth quarter. Yeah. Back to Zion. I know this from a fan standpoint, from a effect standpoint that it has on the Pelican fan base. For most of this season, especially early on, at one point we lost 13 in a row, I think. Right. When you had them on, I said, put the Pels on in the background. We watch the big TV in the front and watch whatever watch and have them on over here on mute so I could lean around into the kitchen and see the score. It went from that to after that first game, literally saying like a child or like a father would to his little child. I was telling my wife, Zion's on tonight. Zion put Zion on.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
I'm the same way. When the game's on, typically I'm checking in second, third quarter, then flip back to the other thing I'm watching or whatever to see what the score is. If it gets close, I'll turn on the last 6 minutes of whatever the ball game. But now, this guy's must-see TV. He's got a star quality, and he's such an athlete. We talked before a little bit during the break. His second jump, I mean, when he reacts off of either tip balls or misses and gets the ball back, it just looks like these other athletes are standing still. It's just amazing the explosiveness for the guy that size.
Never seen anything like it. I guess if there's a player you're going to kind of think that maybe he looks a little bit similar to. For me, it was Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
And Barkley was a tremendous leader. But Charles Barkley was listed at 6'6", or he's about 6'4".
Yeah.
And could jump out of the gym. But it was a long, extended jump. This guy's quick twitch jump is like nothing I've ever seen. By the way, he's listed at 285 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's a bucket of strength is what he is.
Yeah.
Real quick, Craig. They're monitoring his minutes, whatever you want to call it, time management, time load management. It's averaging 27 minutes a game now, 19.6 points a game, 8 rebounds, and he's shooting 44% from behind the three-point line. Now, he's only 58% at the free throw line, and that's garbage. You got to get better there.
Got to improve that, yeah, because they're going to foul him a lot.
They're going to hit him a lot and send him to the line, the hack-a-shack kind of deal. But look, this is a team that was better off, or left for dead, and they got him back. And you watch him now in spurts, and you sit there, and they're playing good teams, and even these teams are taking notice that, man, if these guys can put this thing together now, they're capable, just like they lost 13. This is a team that can win 10, 12 games in a row. They're not that far out of that last playoff spot.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to see this team roll into the playoffs if they can put it all together. And he's getting healthier and healthier. Must-see TV, like you said.
Yeah, a lot of good young talent in the mix in there with veterans like Reddick and Holiday, so you got a really good mix of talent. Again, just molding those pieces together.
Let me say this real quick, too. They have absolutely got to get better in the fourth quarter. Yeah. They play very poor, fundamental bad. The turnovers are a killer for this team. They did a much better job tonight. Yeah. But the last few games I've watched, two of their first 4 possessions or 2 of their first 5, it's simple, like roll the ball off their foot, like, playground stuff. And so they've got to do a better job of valuing the basketball. But the ball movement's there, okay? But they've got to do a better job of that, and they've got to figure out a way to make open shots when the money's on the line.
Yeah, and some of that is, again, settling for those threes when you got time on the shot clock. I mean, you got to look for better shots before you resort to those sometimes.
Or when you're not making them, pass them up.
That's right.
That's the key. If you're hitting them, knock yourself out. Keep letting it fly. But guys who are shooting, 4 for 6 behind the arc in the first 3 quarters with 8 minutes left in the game, go 0 for 4.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, well, if you're not going to make it in the last second, get rid of the ball.
Yeah, especially when you got other options.
Really.
All right, moving ahead to the LSU Tigers just finished up the second signing period, and a couple of guys who landed. Kyle, any thoughts on LSU's final signing period?
Tigers finished with the 4th-ranked class in the country. The additions yesterday, were Cavante Bradford, a running back out of Texas, 4-star kid, 5'11", 193. He is from Lancaster, Texas. Bradford is a sprinter. He's a guy that when he gets in the open field, look out. Love that this kid was still out there, and love that the Tigers got him because it'd be a great addition to that running back room. Only running back signed in this year's class. They also added Dwight McGlothern. He is a long, rangy, skinny cornerback, also from Texas, Spring, Texas, just kind of east of the Woodlands up there. He's another 4-star guy. It's a really good get for the Tigers. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Cordell Flott kid they got now, a little bit heavier, but Flott was a guy not a bunch of people were on, and he's just a real long, skinny, rangy guy, and that's kind of, what the prototypical cornerback is looking like now.
I'm Flott. I can do things.
I'm Flott. Boo. All right, and then Alex Adams is a wide receiver from Magnolia, Mississippi, which is not that far from Baton Rouge, and 3-star kid, grew up a Tiger fan his whole life, and was able to nab an offer from the Tigers. So they missed out on 2 guys they were chasing. One, McKinley Jackson, one of the top-rated defensive tackles in the country, a Mississippi kid. It's thought to be LSU, Alabama, and miraculously he picked Texas A&M at the end. I know that at one point he came down to visit for his official visit to LSU, and the joke was he brought half the state of Mississippi with him. So I don't know what they're trying to get accomplished with that. Yeah. But somehow A&M gets in there late and gets the kid. And then they lost out on Justin Birch. Is that his first name? They lost out on the Birch kid today. He's a 5-star defensive end from South Carolina, Jordan Birch. And this kid is a prototypical 5 technique, and LSU is going to switch to a base 4-3 defense. Nowadays, it's not as significant as it used to be. Right. But this is a guy who is perfect build, and player for that spot in that 4-3 defense. I think he would have played early. He would have played often. He and the mom really wanted the kid to go to LSU. I think the kid kind of wanted to go to LSU, but he's right there in South Carolina's backyard. Matter of fact, Will Muschamp, the head coach of South Carolina, was at his signing ceremony, which is normally not legal for coaches to attend, but Muschamp's son is his teammate and signed his preferred walk-on deal with Georgia, so that allowed Muschamp to stay there. Some hubbub, he didn't actually sign when he said he was signed something else, put the Gamecocks hat on, said, can't wait to play with my friends, but never said the word South Carolina. And so, but as of yesterday, at the end of the day, they still didn't have his signature.
Yeah.
And then they issued a statement today saying, hey, if we don't have his signature by close of business Thursday, we're out.
Yeah.
And I think that put a little pressure on the kid, and you just want the kid to be happy. He's a heck of a player, and good for them for keeping a marquee homegrown talent. But I don't know how much longer he's going to be there, meaning the head coach. I'm speculating here.
Yeah.
But they've struggled a little bit lately, and I think the kid had a chance to come here and make a real difference in a program that's really going to be in the thick of it for the foreseeable future. Yeah, sure. But you wish them all the best. I know it's like, hey, good luck. Your family can come see you with a short drive. So
yeah, and I saw Coach O also said he thought, maybe they left a few too many scholarships open. Maybe they will sign a few more and leave a few less open for the second signing period. Maybe get to like 21 or 22 next time.
Yeah, I think also LSU. Look, when you're really rolling in recruiting, sometimes you got to tell a kid who committed to you that what they call it processing them. What they'll do is they'll basically tell the kid, look, we're not going to offer you a full ride. You can come as a preferred walk-on, but we want you to go somewhere else because now we're telling you now instead of later.
Yeah.
It's the dirty part of recruiting. It's the hard part of recruiting. Any coach will tell you now. These kids will change their mind in a second after they come. Look, Patrick Surtain left LSU at the altar literally the 11th hour the night before signing day a couple years ago. And Major Burns was a kid they processed out from Madison Prep near Baton Rouge who's now going to play for Georgia. And I think that's the one they kind of really regret. Also, I wish LSU would have made a harder play for Donovan Kaufman at LSU. They gave him a lot, but they wanted him to leave the door open while we waited. And good for the kid. He honored his commitment to Vanderbilt. 3.5 kid, tremendous young man. And you'll hear about him later on. I think this kid's going to be great.
Yeah, you mentioned, and moving on to Rummel High School, our old alma mater, they had 9 signings and 4 preferred walk-ons, as you mentioned. And Kaufman sticks with Vandy. He, again, looked at other options. Coy Moore, of course, a wide receiver. Great kid. High points to the ball. Just fantastic athlete.
At that.
He goes to LSU. And then I think the cornerback went to Wake Forest. And
Gavin Holmes signed with Wake Forest. This is a legit, 4.39 kid. This kid is absolutely lightning fast.
Yeah, but other ones mostly smaller schools. In Nicholls State had some Prairie View A&M, one of the kids. But fantastic. 13 kids are going to play college ball at some point.
Yeah, I mean, look, they interviewed Donovan Kaufman yesterday, and he said, I'm so proud of everything about. He goes, Rummel, I'm a 3.5 plus student. Yeah. I'm going to Vanderbilt, and I'm going to get a great education, and I feel totally prepared because of the things I learned here at Rummel, and this community has meant so much to me. And look, there's not a better poster for. What do you call it? Open house that you could put up there than that video.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, the other thing is too, and kudos, Coach Monica said, the best thing about these kids is they did it right. They told the coaches and such, look, we've got a state championship to win, and they put that recruiting stuff on the side and focused on the task at hand, and really that certainly pads your resume when you get the state championship. But they just did it the right way. They wanted people to know that they were committed to this high school before they moved on to that process.
And what do you think happens? What do you think the lesson learned by these kids is in 3 and 4 years when a few of them are going to hear their names, possibly an agent lurking in the hallway?
Yeah.
Hey, if I'm going, I'm going.
Yeah,
okay, but right now I've got a job to do.
I got a job to do for the
said school. Right. So
that's right.
So a lot of kids you will be able to see playing close to home, and of course you can see Vandy being an SEC team and Wake being in the ACC. You'll see him. So if Gavin Holmes get a chance to pick off Trevor Lawrence.
There you go. Who knows? Let's a couple other things to wrap up. I want to give a little shout out to my brother-in-law, offensive line coach, who was with Green Bay Packers for 15 years. Of course, had a tough season last year, as some coaches do in Cleveland. But he signs a deal this year to go to LA Chargers. Again, a team I think that has a lot of potential, a lot of the right weapons in place. They've got to decide on that quarterback.
Cleveland. Los Angeles.
They got to decide on the
Cleveland. Los Angeles. What did Yakov Smirnoff said? He said, every country has a place that they make fun of.
A city they make fun of, yeah.
A city that they make fun of. In America, you make fun of Cleveland. In Russia, we make fun of Cleveland
too. That's right. Yeah. So kudos to him. Again, wish him the best of luck. It's going to be a situation that's good for him, I think. With a great head coach there. I want to give a shout out.
They're getting a steal. I'll tell you that.
I want to give a shout out to my favorite tennis player, Novak Djokovic, wins the Australian Open, the first major major this season, so he's off to a good start. Anything else in the sports?
Yeah, my favorite badminton player, Shakira, won the Singapore Open with a resounding victory over Segolia.
You laugh at that, but now with football season over, you will see that badminton, cornhole, and rodeo on Sunday.
BS. I'm watching the XFL. I'm going to see what this new league's all about. We didn't mention that.
That's right.
A lot of SEC LSU guys are playing in this tournament. Cardell Jones, the old, some call him Cardell Jones, the old quarterback from Ohio State who led them to a national championship not that long ago. Well, it was pretty long ago, but they'll be playing. And you'll recognize a lot of names in that league. But Nick Brossette, Anthony Johnson, just to name a few off the top of my head from LSU, will be playing in that league. And next week, we're going to have a regional, pull a map out, Craig, and say, okay, this is the team we have to pull for, the closest team in the world, so we can see.
That's it, okay. And also, of course, never an off season for football. We'll have the combine coming up, the draft shortly after that, free agent period in between. So it's a little more sporadically in the off season, but we'll come back and cover that as well. We are
the Italian Sports Guys.
Bada boom.
Bada bing.